Do you love scents and fragrances? Do you love the smell of a good vanilla and caramel candle? Do you find it's much easier to put sprays in your toilet rather than have the stink of what's left behind from others? Do you like to spray your rooms with room deodorizers so that everything smells really fresh? Do you have a favourite perfume that you spray on in great abandon because you want to smell nice for the other people around you? Do you like to make your clothes soft and cuddly and throw in a good dose of clothing softener into your wash? I hate to say it, but I've got some bad news for you. These scents and fragrances could actually be damaging your body and your children's bodies in many ways. 35 years ago, my husband and I were on our way to Pisa on a train from Florence. The person sitting next to Paul had the strongest aftershave we'd ever smelt. By the time we got to Pisa, Paul ran off the train and was almost vomiting on the lawns and had a massive migraine. He was so overwhelmed and ill from the smell of the aftershave. Over time, he's found a select few that he can wear himself without too much problem. However, he often gets a migraine from smelling unfamiliar and strong aftershaves. And it doesn't just stop at aftershaves. His headaches can come from deodorants, air fresheners, cleaning products, fly sprays. When we talk about body and house deodorizing and cleaning products, there are chemicals in most of these, and they can seriously affect our health. Our son Jack has had very similar problems with scents and also products on his skin. Soaps that we wash our bodies with, washing powder, dishwashing tablets, household cleaners are all culprits. And I'd never really thought about this until it becomes a concern, as you might not have either. One day Jack said to me, "Look, Mum, whatever you're washing the sheets and the towels in makes my skin really itchy when I use them." And he also mentioned at the same time, and I can't believe I did this, that the blue hand wash that he was using in the bathroom made his hands itchy and swollen. I happened to be talking to a friend of mine who is involved in a company whose products for household and body cleaning were eco-friendly and additive-free. And from that day forward, I only bought additive-free household cleaners. Just one more thing while we're looking at chemicals and where they're hidden. My daughter recently ordered a dress online. When she received it and pulled it out of the plastic bag, the chemical smell was so overwhelmingly strong that she had to wash it 3 times before the smell was reduced. Now, how often do you put your clothes straight on when you bought them without washing them? I do, but not anymore. Just because new clothes don't always smell, it doesn't mean that they're not riddled with chemicals. Another friend of mine put on a pair of socks straight after buying them. He ended up with ulcerated feet because the socks had such strong chemicals in them. These are the things we don't think about. We take it for granted that no one's out there to make us ill. But it's not stopping manufacturers from doing what's best for them. Our world is becoming more toxic in every single aspect. It's time to question everything. I'm Kate Mason and welcome to Parenting and Personalities. This is the podcast that connects you to the ones you care about the most. Today I'm talking to sisters Tracey and Jo. Tracey and Jo are sisters who are passionate about living the healthiest and happiest lifestyles they can. Together they've created Sister Mixing, which has now grown to become additive-free lifestyle. They're passionate about changing the way you look at food by spreading the message that additives and preservatives can be toxic to your health. Their mission is to educate everyone on exactly what you're eating, what's in our food, and some of the harmful effects this can have on your health, because knowledge equals power. It doesn't mean you need to be perfect. It just means that you can make informed decisions rather than living blindly. Jo and Tracey, welcome back to the show.
Oh, thanks for having us back.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, I'm hoping that if you've been listening, you've heard the previous podcast that we talked about Tracey and Jo's discovery about the additive-free journey with food. And if you haven't, please go back and have a listen. Now, today we're here to hear about Tracey's additive-free health journey since she got rid of fragrances, scents and products that were making her feel sick and unwell. Tracey, can you tell us what started you looking at other products that weren't just food, and what was your health like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have had a thyroid issue since I was 16 years old, and I think when you start down a path of any discovery, you then start to go down other rabbit holes as well. And so I'd gone down the food rabbit hole and I'd learned about the additives and I'd started to get really inquisitive around all of that. And so that then naturally I started to get inquisitive about other things. And that's when, fragrances and stuff started popping up and I'm like, how is this all linking and what's all this about? But we actually started to use essential oils to flavor our food. And from that, I was like, hold on a minute, I can use these products to create things that I don't have to buy anymore. So for me, it was actually just about saving money. And then I realized, there's these, like, hey, this is the fragrance and this is what these are doing. And you just start to go down that other rabbit hole, I guess. But it just was a natural progression for me to go from food to body products to skincare to cleaning products, and try and change out as much as I could in that whole realm of life, I guess, lifestyle.
And how did you feel it changed your health? Like, what were the differences?
Anyone that has an underactive thyroid is going to be like, hallelujah, I know what you're saying. So if you don't have an underactive thyroid, basically your whole system is slow. Your digestive system is slow, your metabolism is slow, you're tired all the time. Your skin can be dark and grayish looking. Your hair can get really, really thin. In fact, often on your right eyebrow, you lose a lot of hair on your right eyebrow. It's really random, but it's a thing. So there's a lot of health things that come from having an underactive thyroid. And years ago, before I knew about any natural alternatives, I followed all my doctor's health advice and advice, and no one ever spoke to me about food or
Never
endocrine disrupting things like perfumes ever. Only the standard, do you smoke or do you drink? But nothing else about anything else. And I remember when I first went in years later after, so I'd sort of had an underactive thyroid. It then went overactive after I'd had children, which is really rare. And I ended up with Graves' disease. So I've had a whole journey, right? I've had this whole journey of thyroid problems for a really long time. And yeah, in the history of all of that, no doctor sort of was like, maybe you should cut out fragrances. Like, these are damaging your endocrine, system, and it's all linked, etc. How's your adrenals?
Can I just ask a question here? Do you think they know about that?
I don't think they did.
No.
Not then.
No,
Possibly now.
Yes.
But definitely not back then.
Cool. Sorry, keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. And so, so anyway, all of that. But food probably should have been a consideration, given that I'd lost a dramatic amount of weight, because by then my thyroid was now overactive. So you have the opposite effect. Everything's in overdrive in the opposite way. But all in all, it's creating havoc inside your body, like your calcium levels, your bones, your bone density, like all sorts of things can go really wrong. And yeah, I'd gone down this path. Started learning about food, started learning about additives in like products and stuff. And my health, it changed. I can't give a definitive date. I can't say on that date, but I think because I progressed into it, I didn't notice the changes. Maybe it's like how your kids grow and you don't really notice until someone sees them 3 years later. You're like, oh my gosh, they've gotten tall. So it was kind of like that, like years down the track, I'm like, getting older, but feeling better, like kind of thing. And I ended up starting to see a more holistic doctor. So a whole bunch of things went wrong in my health. And I was like, no, I cannot see a regular GP anymore. I need to find someone who actually listens to me and wants to know what I want to do for my health. And so anyway, I sat down and I found this holistic doctor here in Hobart, and I started to see him, and my first appointment was 1 hour long. So tell me the last time you went to a GP and your appointment was an hour long.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
He wanted to know right back to the start of my thyroid journey, right back any other illnesses I'd had, any broken bones, all sorts of things that I thought were random. He wanted to know how my adrenals were. I'm like, how do you, like, you're a doctor. Do you even know what adrenals are? But he wanted to know everything. It was amazing. Mm-hmm. And then I remember I'd had blood tests before I'd gone. And I remember him saying to me, pretty much word for word, this is your blood test result, and you are sitting here and you should be sick, like you should be almost bedridden, he was sort of saying, based on this result. And here you are telling me you're not, and you're up, you're active, you're walking, you're doing all these things, you're running a business, et cetera, et cetera. They don't match. And he said, the only thing I can put it down to is the lifestyle that you're living. because he'd gone on and asked me, about fragrances. Do you use this? I'm like, no, I use essential oils. I use this. I use that. I take these supplements. I do these things. And like he was like, tick, like these are all like, yeah, it was awesome. And so I knew, that was 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, maybe.
Wow. Yep. So it's pretty recent then.
Yeah. Yeah. And from, that solidified it for me, was like, I can't change this. And even when I go, say to an event and I'm sleeping in a hotel and the foyer's full of fragrance, and then you get up to your room and your bed sheets are fragranced and I come back so sick, like headaches, migraines, snotty nose, lethargic, tired, extremely tired, itchy skin, sometimes even a little bit of eczema. And it's because of the environment that I've in. So if I lived in that environment every day, no thanks.
And the other thing is, like my children used to say to me when they come home from school, my daughter used to cry. And the only time she cried was when she had food colouring. And I'd say to her, what have you had to eat today? And she'd go, no, she wouldn't tell me. And then later on she'd go, I had green icing on someone's cake or whatever. And the trouble is that not the trouble, but the thing is that the more careful you are around all that, when you actually get hit with all of those things, it's massive. And you really are so aware of what is happening to you. Whereas when it's every day, you're just not well, like you would have been unwell. But now you go into that kind of environment and it's huge and it knocks you out because it's not part of your environment anymore. So it almost makes you sicker, but it does make you aware, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It makes me aware. The other thing that was really insightful was, and this might be too much information for any men listening.
That's right. But mainly women, you're good.
My cycles were horrendous, like to the point where I'd almost have to have a day off work. I would ache from my waist right down to my knees, like incredibly painful periods. And I ended up having a Mirena put in because, again, that was all the health advice. So I had that put in. I left that in for the 5 years recommended, and had it taken out thinking, maybe things have settled down. Everything went straight back to how it was. Horrible, horrendous, everything was bad. And our mum had a hysterectomy with for very similar reasons. So that was the choices I was given. You either go back and have another Mirena put in or you have a hysterectomy. I'm like, well, let's do the Mirena again. And in that following 5 years, I had changed. That's when I started to discover additives and all these things. So when I had it taken out the second time, so the second one, I was worried. Like I was like, oh God, this is going to be bad again. I'm going to have to end up with a hysterectomy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Not a problem. Had no problems. Completely
Fantastic.
Different.
Yep.
Absolutely, completely different. Everything's regular. Everything's normal. Well, it's now perimenopause time, so it's not everything's normal. But at that time, years ago, I don't even remember when I had it taken out now, but that was game changing as well. I'm like, okay, I'm on the right path here.
Absolutely. So, Jo, did you have anything with your synthetics and fragrances or anything that it was part of your family?
Hello, everyone. I remember I was full hog with additives in food as well, but it hadn't changed a lot of other things. And I said in the last episode, like, even though I felt like I went cold turkey, I didn't, because there was still a whole lot of other things in the home. Like a memory popped up in my Facebook feed the other day. I had my daughter in a bath with a muffin tin filled with shaving cream, full of fragrance, with artificial food color in each one, and she was painting the tiles in the bath. Like, fun, but my gosh, so bad for her. Anyway, so we learn.
We do.
But the thing, so Tracey had started changing all of her cleaning products over to natural. And I wasn't quite ready to do that yet. I was still thinking, oh, they're not going to work. This seems like a lot of drama to DIY. And, I've got little kids and I have time and all the excuses. Anyway, I finally just jumped online, grabbed some supplies and started DIYing, and very quickly realized it takes 30 seconds to whip up pretty much anything. And yes, it does clean your house. And that was when we had no more asthma. We have never actually been back to the emergency department for asthma since then. And my daughter was able to come off her steroid preventer morning and night. And the only thing I can put it down to is removing all the toxic chemicals from our home.
Yep.
And I'm the same as Trace. Like, I can smell fragrance now a mile away, and the shops are buzzing at the moment. It's Christmas time as we're recording this, and we were there the other day getting some presents, and my daughter's like, I want to work in that shop. And maybe I should say the name, but I'm like, no, because that shop has a signature scent. And I'm like, that shop stinks. You are not getting a job there. Like, I have to draw the line somewhere, and I do not want your hormones getting ruined because you're working in an environment that's like full of fragrance. So it kind of freaks me out a little bit, even more than food, if I'm maybe not, but I just feel like I feel like women and men are in such a, we're not extinct, but maybe we're putting ourselves almost there, because the sperm rate of men, our boys, are predicted to be like only 30% of boys are predicted to be able to have children.
Wow, that's
because
huge.
Their sperm counts are just dying. And and women, you talk to pretty much, you could be on a girls' night out and there will be multiple people there with PCOS, endometriosis, hormonal issues, fertility issues. I had fertility issues. It took me a long time to fall pregnant with my first child, with a miscarriage in between. And you'd go, what's going on? Like 3 generations ago, they were able to have 14 children. Now we can't have one. Like, we have to start questioning why. And these chemicals, I was out running yesterday and there's a guy spraying the nature strip, you know. It's just like, oh, come on, world.
That's you did a podcast with Cindy, was it?
Yep.
Yeah, Cindy O'Meara.
Yep, Cindy O'Meara. Now,
Now,
people should go and look at that on your podcast. That's an amazing one. And my husband and I just watched Wheat last night after watching that. And I think that's a whole nother conversation, isn't it? The roundup and what's happening with all of those things, because it is everywhere. And I hate to say it, my kids have moved out of home and they've got diffusers everywhere. And my son's got, because I've taken him through a big wellness journey and he's actually had his gut fixed and everything. But the trouble is that now I said to him, you're just heading for another big washout, you know, because things build up in your system. And I said to him, one day you're just going to wake up, you're going to have massive migraines, and you know, you're not going to you're going to wonder where it's from. But they're busy making their own choices. But out there, we're just filling our houses. I don't have anything. Every now and then they give me a candle and I'll use it if people are over. I'll poison the people that come visit. But I don't. But I don't have anything that smells, because it gives my husband migraines, and Jack used to get migraines from them, and itchy skin. So I'm totally with you, and I think that people, once again, you're not aware because you're living in it. You know, you're living with all this stuff and nothing points it out unless you're sick. And I used to say to people, the only reason that I'm doing this with my kids is actually because they were ill. If they hadn't been sick, I would not have found an additive-free journey. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of people out there that are functioning, are feeling quite well, go, I don't need all that. You know, why would I do that? So it is a really hard thing to turn people around if they think they're feeling okay. So it's often the people that are sick that start this journey. So if anyone's listening and you are sick, definitely do it. But if you're well, get onto your website and just listen and see what is actually happening in our homes, in our shops. We walk past a particular soap shop and none of us can breathe. Like, it's just like we're all kind of, and I'm not asthmatic. My kids are, and my husband gets very short of breath over foods and stuff. So it is everywhere. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So where can the people find how to look at what's bad and synthetically laden? And, you know, are there, apart from your website, is there anywhere else that they can look and find out what's good and bad in that sense for themselves, and what symptoms they might have and what might help those?
Yeah, so body care and skincare is really hard because there's thousands upon thousands of ingredients that people can use or companies can use. So our app that we spoke about in the previous episode, it doesn't yet scan for those types of, because we get asked all the time.
Yeah.
However, there are some keywords that people can, fragrance being one of them. And fragrance, you see that, like, so you might have 3 ingredients on a packet of something, on a bottle of something, and fragrance is one of those words. But the word fragrance itself can be made up of thousands of ingredients. So we don't know what goes into make up a fragrance. You will never know unless that company disclosed that. So we, like as I said before, we switched out to using pure essential oils, and that's really important to understand. There's only a few brands that I would ever trust on the planet as far as pure essential oils go.
Can you
so make
tell
sure
us
you're not
those?
buying.
Are you allowed to tell us those?
Yeah, well, we use doTERRA. It's no
Yes,
secret that we use doTERRA. They're extremely trusted. They test every single batch of oils that they put out on the market. They've, we've been to where they've sourced oils from. Like I couldn't talk highly enough of that company.
To hear.
And then, like I would trust, there's a lavender farm here in Tasmania. Like I would buy lavender from the lavender farm, like it's providing that they can tell me it's not sprayed and stuff. So, there's little stores like that I would definitely trust. But mostly for big companies, I mean, doTERRA is the biggest essential oil company in the world. But I would still trust some of those littler ones as well. But it is really important. So yes, like I have my diffusers going, but with the proper oil in it. I don't use candles. I don't use fragranced oils. I don't use anything that's $5 from the $2 store. It's not going to be pure.
No.
So just be aware of that. So the word fragrance is definitely a huge one. Look, we do have some blog posts on it. We've probably done some podcasts in the past on it. Anything with a preservative, I would be wary of as well. So just sort of maybe have a look at, what preservatives they're using. And as far as makeup goes, we actually avoid titanium dioxide.
Okay.
So I don't know if anyone's aware, but Skittles got recalled recently. So Skittles, the lolly, got recalled because they contain titanium dioxide. So I don't want to be putting that on my skin, and it's in a lot of makeup as well as fragrance is in a lot of makeup. So there's brands, we've certainly got brands. We recommend a lot of stuff on our podcast, on our website and in our socials, and that's probably the best place to find a lot of information is just jump on our socials, jump on our website and have a good hunt around it, reading the blog posts and different things.
Great advice. So thanks again for sharing everything that you have, both of you, with us. It is a minefield. It literally is. I think that if you just go out there and start one thing at a time, as you say, you've just gone on and gradually, the ball starts rolling, I guess. And and the other thing is too, we really can't, I do have a lot of parenting experts on my show, and we really can't control our children. And once we realize that, it's probably the best thing that we can realize. And look, I'm sitting here at 62 and still doing my best. But it is really important to behave the way that you want them to behave, and as you show, it will come out in the end if you can find a way forward that is additive-free in every way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for having us on your show.
It's been a pleasure, a real pleasure. So just give everyone your website again for me. That would be wonderful. And it'll all be in the show notes for everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. So the website is additive-free lifestyle, or one word, just .com. There's no .au on the end. So just additive-free-lifestyle.com is our website. And then all the socials, we're at additive-free lifestyle. But if I can leave everyone with just one piece of advice, and I know we've probably touched on it, but I know we've covered a lot and there's a lot of scary things that we've mentioned, food, and then now you're telling me I can't use anything in my home either, and now I can't eat, and what am I going to do? It is just one baby step at a time, and just start with something. Personally, if I was to do it all again, I would probably start with my cleaning products. They were 100% the easiest thing to swap out. And then I would probably go down the food path. But if you want to do it easy, that would be the easiest way I would do it.
That's great advice. Jo, do you have one last word of advice too?
Oh, that's my advice as well. One step at a time, make the simple swaps. And there's resources out there. Like it's not as hard as you think it is. And also we get to choose our hard. So if I wasn't living this way, if Tracey wasn't living this way, our lives would be hard in another way because we would be really sick. I would still be dealing with the issues, with the kids. Like there's so choose your hard, and we all get to make that choice. And once you kind of figure it out and you know what products to buy and, you talk to people, you start listening to podcasts and you just start immersing yourself in this world, it's not actually as hard as you think it is.
No.
And
no, it's
you
not.
never unlearn what you learn. So once you've learned it once, you don't have to relearn that same thing over and over again. Once you've learned it, you've got that information for life, and then you can just go and learn the next thing and the next thing. So it gets easier.
Fabulous advice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's hard to change what you do, but start off simply. Read labels. Look for symptoms of ill health that could be caused by foods and products that you use. Go natural. There are a lot of products out there now, and if not, make your own. Tracey and Jo have great ideas on their website. Don't accept just what is. Your family's health is one of the most important things in life. Just do it. I'm Kate Mason. Thank you for listening to Parenting and Personalities. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you could leave a rating and a review that would help others learn about the podcast. If you're interested in discovering more about you and your family's personality types, you'll find my book, Who Is This Monster or Treasure in My House, on Booktopia or Amazon. If you have an episode idea, please send a note to thepersonalitycoach@gmail.com. Many thanks to our producers at Stories and Strategies, and we'll see you next time.